I never thought I'd be the kind of person telling a story about losing everything to cryptocurrency. But here I am. My name is Sarah, and I'm 29 years old. Until 18 months ago, my husband Michael and I had what felt like the perfect San Francisco tech life. We lived in a cozy one-bedroom apartment on Potrero Hill with sweeping views of the Bay Bridge, paid our ridiculous $4,200 monthly rent, and dreamed about buying a house somewhere in the South Bay where normal people could afford a backyard. Michael worked as a software engineer at a promising fintech startup, earning around $120,000 a year, while I managed digital marketing campaigns for a mid-size agency downtown, bringing in about $75,000. Together, we'd saved $85,000 over 4 years, money earmarked for that elusive down payment on a house. We had another $45,000 set aside as our emergency fund, the kind of financial cushion that let us sleep well at night despite San Francisco's insane cost of living. Our routine was comfortable, predictable. Morning coffee at Tartine before work, weekend hikes in Marin, the occasional dinner out in the Mission. Michael was always the more tech-savvy of the two of us, constantly reading about blockchain developments, Bitcoin price movements, and what he called the future of finance. I found it mildly interesting, but trusted his judgment. After all, he worked in fintech. The first time he mentioned DeFi, I barely paid attention. "Babe, check this out," he said one evening in March, laptop balanced on our tiny dining table. "I can earn 20% annual returns just by providing liquidity to this protocol. It's basically like a high-yield savings account, but way better." He showed me colorful charts and complicated interfaces that looked like something from a sci-fi movie. "Sounds too good to be true," I said, stirring pasta sauce on our cramped kitchen stove. "That's what everyone says about crypto until they understand it," he replied with that confident smile I'd fallen in love with in college. I should have asked more questions. I should have insisted we discuss any investment over $1,000 together. Instead, I let him invest $5,000 from our savings just to test the waters. Within 2 weeks, he'd made $400 in passive income. "See?" Michael grinned, showing me his phone screen. "Easy money." Looking back, that $400 was the most expensive money we ever made. It convinced us both that maybe, just maybe, we'd found a shortcut to the American dream. By May, Michael was checking his phone obsessively, not for texts or social media, but for something called yield farming dashboards. I'd catch him scrolling through endless green and red numbers at breakfast, during our evening walks, even in bed after I thought he was asleep. "Honey, you're making me nervous with all this crypto stuff," I said one Friday night as we shared takeout from our favorite Thai place on 18th Street. "Sarah, listen to me," he said, setting down his pad thai and looking at me with intense focus. "We've made $3,200 in 2 months. That's more than your entire Roth IRA contribution for the year. And we haven't done anything except let our money sit in a smart contract." He wasn't wrong. The numbers were real. I could see the balance growing in our shared spreadsheet. But something felt off about the way he talked about it. Like he'd discovered fire and couldn't understand why everyone else was still cold. "What if we lose it?" I asked. "We won't. These are established protocols. Compound has been around for years. Uniswap processes billions in transactions. This isn't some random shitcoin, babe. This is the actual infrastructure of decentralized finance." I wanted to believe him. The extra money could accelerate our house buying timeline by 2 years. Instead of saving until 2027, we could potentially have our down payment by late 2025. Michael had already started browsing Zillow listings in Fremont and Union City, calculating mortgage payments and imagining our future backyard. That's when he asked to move another $15,000 into what he called higher yield opportunities. "Just temporarily," he promised. I found this new protocol that's offering 43% APY for the first 3 months. It's basically free money, Sarah. After that, we move everything to more conservative pools. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We'd still have $65,000 in traditional savings, which felt like a reasonable safety net. But $15,000 became $25,000, then $35,000. Each time, Michael showed me the returns, the compound interest, the projected earnings. Look, we made $2,800 last week alone. At this rate, we'll have our house money by Christmas. The scariest part wasn't the money we were putting in, it was how normal it started to feel. Michael would announce our daily earnings over coffee like he was reading the weather. $127 yesterday, $256 today. The market's really heating up. I started to wonder if I was being too conservative, too scared of taking the kind of calculated risks that actually build wealth. Maybe this was how people in Silicon Valley really made it, not through grinding at 75K marketing jobs, but through understanding financial technology before everyone else caught on. Looking back, I realized that was the moment I stopped being a partner in our financial decisions and started being an enabler to his growing obsession. But at the time, it felt like we were finally winning at a game we'd been losing our entire adult lives. The first red flag came in August when I tried to pay our credit card bill and found our checking account was lower than expected. Not empty, but off by about $8,000. When I asked Michael about it, he had a ready explanation. Oh, I moved some money into a new liquidity pool that required a bigger minimum deposit. Don't worry, it's earning 58% APY. We'll make it back in 3 weeks. Without discussing it with me first? Babe, these opportunities move fast. By the time we had a whole conversation about it, someone else would have taken the spot. I'm trying to maximize our returns here. I wanted to trust him, but something in his tone felt rehearsed, like he'd been practicing this conversation. That night, I logged into our bank account and started going through statements. What I found made my hands shake. Cash advances on credit cards I didn't know we had, a home equity line of credit against our security deposit. Apparently, you could do that in San Francisco's insane rental market if you had good credit and a tech salary. Small transfers here and there, always with technical explanations I didn't understand. Collateral for leveraged yield farming and capital for arbitrage opportunities. When I confronted him, Michael's defensiveness scared me more than the money. Sarah, you have to trust me on this. I know what I'm doing. Do you think I'd risk our future if I wasn't certain? How much are we actually in for? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He paused for too long. Including the credit lines, maybe $78,000? But we're earning back $6,000 a month in passive income. The math works out. $78,000. Our entire life savings plus the debt I didn't agree to take on. I felt like the walls of our tiny apartment were closing in. Michael, this is gambling. No, it's not. Gambling is random chance. This is financial engineering. I've studied the smart contracts. I understand the tokenomics. Sarah, people in our position don't get rich through traditional investments. We get rich by understanding new technology before the masses catch on. I wanted to believe him so badly that I almost convinced myself he was right. Almost. But late at night, when he thought I was sleeping, I could hear him in the living room refreshing apps, checking Discord servers, talking to strangers about impermanent loss and rug pull protection. The man I married used to read science fiction novels before bed. Now he fell asleep to the glow of DeFi dashboards, muttering about gas fees and liquidity mining rewards. In September, our passive income suddenly dropped to $800 for the week. He explained it away as temporary volatility and market correction, but I could see panic creeping into his eyes. That's when I started making my own plans, just in case the foundation of our entire financial life crumbled beneath us. October 15th, 2024. I remember the exact date because it was the day our world collapsed. I was in a client meeting downtown presenting a social media campaign for a sustainable fashion startup when my phone started buzzing uncontrollably. Text after text from Michael, each one more frantic than the last. Call me now. Emergency. Don't panic, but we need to talk. Protocol exploit. Major. I excused myself from the meeting and called him from the hallway outside the conference room. The sound that came through the phone wasn't quite crying, but it wasn't normal breathing either. Michael, what happened? The protocol got exploited. A flash loan attack. They drained the liquidity pools. I didn't understand the technical terms, but I understood the number he told me next. $68,000. Gone. Not lost in market volatility, actually stolen by hackers who found a vulnerability in the smart contract code. What does that mean for us? I asked, though my stomach already knew. We still owed the credit card debt and the HELOC, but the money we were earning interest on, it's gone. I slid down the wall in that corporate hallway, designer heels scraping against marble, and tried to process what I was hearing. We'd gone from having $85,000 in savings to owing $23,000 in debt, all in the span of 6 months. When I got home that evening, Michael was sitting on our couch, laptop closed, staring at nothing. The apartment felt different somehow. Smaller. Suffocating. The Bay Bridge view that used to feel inspiring now looked like a barrier keeping us trapped in a city we could no longer afford. There has to be something we can do, I said, setting down my purse with shaking hands. Insurance or legal action or... Sarah, there's no FDIC protection for DeFi protocols. No customer service number to call. The hackers are probably in North Korea or Russia by now. The money is just gone. For 3 days, Michael didn't leave the apartment. He didn't shower, didn't answer calls from his startup, didn't eat the soup I made him. He just refreshed Twitter threads about the hack, reading theories about how it happened, looking for some glimmer of hope that the funds might be recovered. I took time off work and spent those days making phone calls. Credit card companies, our landlord, and my parents, trying to figure out how we could survive in San Francisco with negative net worth and 2 tech salaries that suddenly felt inadequate. On day 4, I sat Michael down at our tiny dining table and said the words that would change everything. We need help. Professional help. This isn't just about money anymore. Determined and confrontational, I just had to say something. Getting Michael to admit he had a gambling addiction was like trying to convince someone in a cult that their leader wasn't divine. He had an explanation for everything. The technology was sound, he'd just picked the wrong protocol. Next time, he'd be more careful about smart contract audits. This isn't gambling, Sarah. Poker is gambling. This was a sophisticated financial instrument that got exploited by hackers. Michael, you borrowed money against our apartment to invest in something you didn't fully understand. You hid debt from me for months. You couldn't sleep without checking your phone. How is that not addiction? I'd found a therapist who specialized in technology addiction and financial trauma. Dr. Amanda Chen had seen dozens of Bay Area couples destroyed by crypto obsessions. She spoke our language. She understood yield farming and liquidity pools, but she also understood the psychological patterns that made smart people make catastrophically stupid decisions. The intervention happened on a Tuesday morning in November. Me, Dr. Chen, and Michael's older brother Jake, who'd flown in from Portland after I called him in desperation. I need you to listen to me, I said, sitting across from my husband at Dr. Chen's office in Soma. I love you, but I won't let you destroy our lives again. We're selling everything we can, we're moving somewhere we can actually afford, and you're going to get help. Michael's face cycled through denial, anger, and finally something that looked like relief, like he'd been waiting for someone to take control because he couldn't trust himself anymore. We sold our car, a Tesla Model 3 that Michael had bought during our winning streak. We broke our lease and moved to a one-bedroom apartment in Oakland that cost $2,800 a month instead of $4,200. I took on freelance marketing projects on weekends. Michael picked up part-time consulting work while attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings specifically for crypto addicts. Apparently, they were common enough in San Francisco to have their own support groups. The hardest part wasn't the financial sacrifice. It was rebuilding trust. Michael had to give me complete access to all accounts, credit cards, and investment apps. We set up automatic transfers so his paychecks went directly into an account I controlled. Every financial decision over $50 required discussion. Some nights, I'd catch him staring at his phone, thumb hovering over deleted trading apps. The temptation never fully went away, but he learned to recognize the feeling and text me or Dr. Chen instead of acting on it. 6 months into recovery, we had our first real conversation about money since the crash. Not about past mistakes, but about our actual future, what we wanted from life, whether we could ever trust each other again. "I thought I was being smart," Michael said, holding my hand across our smaller kitchen table. "I thought I was taking care of us." "I know, but taking care of us means talking to me, not protecting me from your decisions." Slowly, painfully, we started to rebuild not just our finances, but our partnership. A year later, we're not where we thought we'd be, but we're somewhere better in ways I never expected. We never did buy that house in the South Bay. Instead, we're renting a 2-bedroom duplex in Berkeley, walking distance from the farmer's market and BART. Our emergency fund is back up to $35,000. Modest by Bay Area standards, but it's money we can see and touch in a traditional savings account that earns 4.5% interest. No smart contracts, no yield farming, no promises of revolutionary returns. Michael still works in tech, but he switched to a larger, more stable company with better benefits and less startup drama. I launched my own marketing consultancy, focusing on small businesses that actually make things instead of disrupting industries. We're earning less combined income than before, but we're spending less too. And every dollar we make is actually ours. The most important change isn't financial. It's how we communicate. We have weekly money meetings now, every Sunday morning over coffee. Not arguments about hidden debts or secret investments, but honest conversations about our goals, our fears, our progress toward rebuilding what we lost. Michael still follows crypto news, but the way other people follow sports, as entertainment, not as a path to wealth. He can tell you about Bitcoin's latest rally or Ethereum's network upgrades, but he doesn't check prices compulsively or calculate how much he could be earning if only he'd held on to his coins. "Do you ever regret stopping me?" he asked recently as we walked through Tilden Park. I thought about it seriously. We'd be in debt either way. The next crypto crash happened just months after our protocol got exploited, and it was even worse than ours. "I regret not stopping you sooner," I said, "but I don't regret saving us." The hardest lesson I learned wasn't about cryptocurrency or investing. It was about marriage. Love doesn't mean trusting your partner blindly. It means creating systems where you can both be honest about your weaknesses and fears. Michael's addiction to high-risk investing was real, but my addiction to avoiding conflict was just as dangerous. If you're listening to this because someone you love is caught up in crypto fever, please know you're not responsible for saving them from their choices, but you are responsible for protecting yourself. Set boundaries. Ask questions. Don't let promises of easy money replace the hard work of building something real together. The house we dreamed about will happen eventually, when we can afford it, without risking everything else we value. And when it does, it'll be built on a foundation of honesty, not speculation.
That, it turns out, is worth more than all the yield farming in the world. I thought I was being smart, Michael said, holding my hand across our smaller kitchen table. I thought I was taking care of us. I know, but taking care of us means talking to me, not protecting me from your decisions. Slowly, painfully, we started to rebuild not just our financials, but our partnership.